Hi, welcome back. Another travel stories for you. This time I'm talking about Malaysia. So I've been there a few times now, and I've got to say, first of all, the people in Malaysia are some of the nicest people I've come across. They are so sweet, so kind. They made me feel really welcome. I made some friends there that, were always happy to see me when I get back, and I'll be forever thankful for that. So really enjoy the company while I'm there. But there's quite some unusual cultural differences and things I noticed while I was there, so we'll go into that. The standard of accommodation in Malaysia and the pricing is absolutely superb. I normally stay in Kuala Lumpur, stayed at the Doubletree a couple of times and a couple of other similar level hotels. If you stay in a sort of 4-star hotel or a 5-star hotel in London or Paris or somewhere like that, you will probably be less than impressed. If you stay in something similar in Malaysia, you are going to be blown away. The hotels are absolutely amazing for the price there. I think we were paying about 100 and something, 130, 40 pound a night. And then we were paying an extra 20 pound a night to be on the kind of VIP list. That sounds very flash, but all it really meant was it gives you executive access to the upper floor. And on the upper floor in the evening, they basically do a buffet. So it's free food up there, and it's like a finger buffet, but there's plenty of it, and it's really nice. The chef actually comes out and asks you if you're enjoying it. They've clearly taken a lot of time and effort to prepare it. And you also get free drinks, so free soft drinks and free hard drinks as well. You can have a Jack Daniels and Coke, or a vodka and tonic, or whatever, gin and tonic. And generally speaking, those things in the hotels are on the top floor. I think in the Doubletree it's on the top floor, and you get a beautiful view out over the city, especially at night when everything's lit up. So I thoroughly recommend that. And for £20 a night, if you're looking to save money, you can actually forego, you can eat a big meal at lunchtime, forego your dinner, don't bother eating in the restaurant, and just pay that £20 fee. And then you're there with your finger food and a few drinks, and you can have a great time in there. Really nice atmosphere. It only lasts for, I think, 2 or 3 hours, but that's plenty of time to relax. And if you're on business, it's especially good. You probably don't want to be going to a bar and getting absolutely wasted. You just want to relax in the evening. You can kind of find a quiet corner, do some emails and stuff, have a little bit of food, catch up on the work that you missed in the day, and it's absolutely ideal. The quality of the staff in the hotels is second to none. They will do anything for you. They're incredibly kind. They're always making sure that you're being well looked after. The food over there in the hotels was also absolutely amazing. The quality of the breakfast buffet is just superb. It's quite expensive if you were to book into that breakfast buffet if you're a non-resident at the hotel. But if you actually go there as a resident, it's relatively cheap. And if I remember rightly, you had about 9 or 10 different foods that you could go to, sort of stands that you could go to within the buffet, and from all different regions. So you could go and have like a typical English breakfast, you could have a continental breakfast, you could have Indian food, you could have Chinese food, you could have traditional Malaysian food. Everything laid out, even Italian food, whatever you wanted. They pretty much had it. A selection of croissants and cakes and buns and all that kind of thing as well, if you've got a sweet tooth, plus of course all your teas and coffees and soft drinks thrown in. So we were generally having like a really big nice breakfast in the hotel buffet, a little bit of lunch, and then that finger food in the evening, or sometimes we would have to go out and meet clients and have a meal with them. Again, the quality of the restaurants in KL was good, same as anywhere else. Have a look on the review sites, see which one's getting good ratings, and then go there. We didn't have any complaints whatsoever. High quality food standards, and in general everything's clean, well looked after. If you go to the nicer places, we didn't go to any of the kind of street vendors or anything like that. They looked fine, but I can't give you my opinion on that. Now, Malaysian people are really tolerant and kind, and it's considered like a big faux pas over there to be angry, to say anything nasty to anyone. So you might find this unusual if you're like me from England, where people are shouting and swearing at each other. If you're driving a car in England and screaming at people in traffic or whatever, That just does not happen in Malaysia. I'm sure people do get upset, but they keep it to themselves. It doesn't happen in public, and you would be well versed to understand that, because the Malaysian police don't mess around. So if you're there and you get annoyed with someone in a shop or in the traffic or whatever, and you start shouting your mouth off, you probably get arrested. And you know, it's going to be a while of you getting out of there when they work out, oh, you're just a stupid Westerner that kind of acts like that and didn't realise their culture. But in general, it's an incredibly reserved, polite, kind culture. Even if someone out there really didn't like you, they would still probably say hello, you know, be polite, smile. And we went and stayed in a place called Icon City, which is a really, really strange place. Kind of a place where people from Malaysia like to go and have a little break. There's a lot of little weird restaurants there. They had a Clash of Clans cafe, which was all done out like the game Clash of Clans. They had like a rainforest cafe, which was all done out like you're in a rainforest, and we were sat up on the top there looking out over the road. That was really nice. But just to summarize the kind of Malaysian thoughts on being angry or aggressive, I came across a place there where it appeared the place was all smashed up inside, and I said to my friend, hey, that's pretty unusual to see in Malaysia. What's going on there? He was a Malaysian guy, and he laughed and he said, oh, that's a shop, and he gave me a Malaysian term for it, but it's basically a shop which specializes in allowing you to break things. And I said, well, why would you want to break things? And he explained that Malaysian people hold all their sort of bad feelings in because it's impolite to let them out in public, and that sometimes they would go to a place like this and basically pay money to break stuff, including, like, they had a car that was all smashed in outside, and people would literally pay to hit that with baseball bats and sticks and take their frustration and anger out, because that was an acceptable way for them to vent their frustrations, and no one had any issues about that. They had all kinds of other cool things there as well, like you could go and do axe throwing, you could go and play darts. They had like a darts themed place there as well. So I thoroughly recommend Icon City. That was such a weird place. It's like, it's almost sort of plastic, you know, it doesn't feel quite real. It's so manicured and coordinated that it was a really, really odd experience to walk around in. It was almost, it felt like it was kind of hallucinogenic, like things weren't quite right, and I really enjoyed that. I was just staying out there for a few days because we had a big contract quite nearby, and we happened to be there. And there's like one big hotel right at the end of the road, and then you've got this massive road with all these kind of strange little restaurants, cafes and things to do for people that are on vacation. If you go to one of the cities out there like Kuala Lumpur, it's just like any other. You know, there's some old ancient buildings in some of the parts, but mainly it's very modern. They've got all the shopping you could need, everything you could imagine, you know, supermarkets, normal stuff. Nightclubs, I went into a couple of clubs. I'm not a huge clubbing person, but I got dragged there with a couple of workmates, and that was pretty funny because I walked in and suddenly I was surrounded by loads and loads of Malaysian people. I was thinking, what's going on? And they all wanted pictures with me, and it was an area that probably tourists didn't go to much. And then I noticed they were all calling me something, and I said to my Malaysian friend who was laughing, you know, what are they saying? And he said, oh, they think you are Stone Cold Steve Austin, because I had like a checkered shirt on. I wear a lot of flannel shirts, and yeah, they thought I was Stone Cold Steve Austin. They obviously hadn't noticed the height difference. I had a bald head and I looked quite muscular, so I guess that was enough to prompt them to think that a celebrity had turned up. And I had to explain I wasn't, but they still wanted to get pictures with me so they could kind of show their friends and pretend that I might be. We went to a couple of karaoke places out there. That's quite a big deal in Malaysia. They really take the karaoke seriously. And if you're a Westerner and you can sing, they will really like you, because they all try to mimic Western sounding songs. So of course they're singing in like English, and it's kind of broken English because it's obviously their second language, and they're singing along to like Mustang Sally and stuff like that. If you can sing and you can do a rendition of a Western song quite well, they will be in absolute raptures over you, and they will want you to sing more and more, and they will buy you drinks, etc. So a little tip for you in the bars there, if you want to enjoy yourself, and you might even impress a couple of the Malaysian ladies. In terms of impressing the ladies, they are a very reserved culture, so please don't think that if you're a guy you're going to turn up there. If you're single and looking for ladies, you're not going to be able to just go into bars and like pull women. You know, that is quite a reserved culture. They do have things like Tinder and dating apps and stuff, so you would have to maybe start a conversation and organise to go on a date and be quite formalised about it. You wouldn't be just walking in and picking up a girl, because that would be a huge faux pas for her, and it would be kind of shameful behaviour for her and her family if she was just going out and going off with men randomly. So that's unlikely to happen. We did go to a couple of places there. There's a place called the Beach Bar, or there was. If anyone's been to Malaysia in KL, they know exactly what I'm talking about. It was quite a place to go. It's closed down now. It closed down over COVID. It had a lot of like fish tanks in it and stuff, so some people referred to it as the shark bar, because I think they had some really little sharks in one of the tanks. Now, it was kind of a music venue, so they had live bands there, which were actually pretty decent. You know, they had really good musicians, if you could deal with Malaysian accent singing Born to Be Wild or whatever, but the music itself was really, really high quality. It was kind of a raucous atmosphere in there. Everyone was having a great time. It was open air. It's really hot in Malaysia, obviously, so it was nice to kind of sit in an open air bar with the fans blowing and all that. But it also operated as kind of a knock-in shop. So at about 9-10 o'clock at night, all these beautiful girls would walk in, and they were stunning, no joke about that. Malaysian girls all walking in dressed to the nines in short skirts and all that kind of thing. And if you're not used to it, you'd think, what's going, like, where have all these girls come from, what's going on? And then they would like start to come up to you and talk to you. Big Western man, how you doing? And be chatty, and you think, there's something definitely going wrong here, because why have I got like a 22-year-old beautiful Malaysian girl chatting me up? Well, they're chatting you up because they are ladies of the night, and they actually want you to take them off to a hotel somewhere and do the business. So if that's your thing, that would have been the place to go. However, that got shut down, and it was often raided. So even before it was shut down in COVID, the police and the government have a very strange relationship in Malaysia with that kind of thing, because they're, like I said, a very conservative society that generally don't tolerate that, but it seemed that occasionally they do allow it. But being that they allow it, they couldn't be seen to just freely allow it completely. So like once every couple of years, that beach bar and a couple of the other infamous ones would get raided. The police would go in there, like nickel the take-ins, push everyone out of there, and basically kind of shut it down for a couple of days. Then it would spring back open again like nothing had happened, and everyone would just get on as business as usual. So a very odd situation where it was tolerated but also not. And bear that in mind, in a lot of the countries like Malaysia, you do find these places that are very entertaining. I used to sit there and watch, kind of people watch, because you get these hilarious old men, generally from Europe, kind of creeping in, and they would sort of be on their own looking around, and really dodgy looking. They looked very sort of paedophilic, and then they would be there very shyly trying to meet these girls, and of course the girls absolutely rinse these guys. You know, the guys would go there with a pocket full of money and leave with zero. Don't be fooled by the girls' humble smile and kind words. They were professionals at taking money out of guys' pockets, I know that much. And then these guys would kind of come back 15 minutes later after their experience and look a bit bedraggled and a bit sad, probably because they were very poor now and they hadn't had the greatest of times. But it was fun to watch. But just bear in mind that because it is kind of on the grey side of the law, you could end up getting dragged into that. So if you were conducting some serious business in that country and you got taken there one night for a bit of a laugh and the police happened to raid it and you get dragged in, it's kind of besmirching your name slightly. You know, it might not work out so well for you, and you might have to pay the police to let you out of prison the next morning. Not ideal. Outside of the cities, it's actually really, really rural. It's like rainforesty, and that's a bit of a controversy because they've cut back a lot of the forested areas to create palm oil. You know, they've grown palms there, so you'll see by the sides of the road just millions and millions of these palms. Where there is rainforest, it kind of reminds me of the movie Predator. You'll be driving along these beautiful roads. They've got quite mountainous areas that are pretty rugged and beautiful, and then you'll see these, you know, rainforesty areas among that, and it really looks like something out of Predator. I don't know if that was filmed there, even the original film, but that's what it reminded me of. And we did actually go to the jungle there at one point. One of the drivers that was working for me, a Malaysian guy, he you know, we got friendly, and he said, I'd really like to take you to where I was brought up, because it's completely different to KL where you've been staying, and you'll get an idea of, if you're more of a rural Malaysian, you know, what it's like to be brought up in those areas. So we drove pretty deep into the jungle. You know, we're like 2 or 3 miles in down this sort of dirty track, and we get to a little village in there, which is very, very humble place. You know, it was just sort of wooden huts and stuff like that. People living quite simplistic lives there. They weren't too bothered about technology and all that kind of thing. I was welcomed with open arms. The locals there were absolutely over the moon to see me, because obviously I'm a foreigner, and they don't get many visitors in that area. It's certainly not on the tourist track at all. They immediately all began furiously getting things ready, cooking, and I didn't have that much time, but I couldn't say no at this point. So they cooked like a giant bowl of ramen in a cauldron, pretty much, that was actually just on top of a burning wood pile. So it was very traditional cooking methods. I was vegetarian at the time, so I said to the lady cooking, oh, can I just have a vegetarian ramen? And this was actually one of the things that changed me from being vegetarian. So she sort of looked at me quizzically, and the guy I was with had to explain to her, and she's still looking at him confused, because in that lifestyle they're living, they don't understand the, you know, that you would be picky about what you ate, because they would just eat whatever they could get. You know, they didn't have all these options, and it made me feel really entitled. It made me realise that selecting my vegetarian option or whatever, I might in the West be thinking that I'm doing some great virtue signal and helping the planet or whatever, but in a lot of countries they actually look at you like you're completely mental, because they don't have a freedom of choice where they can go, oh, this week I'm only going to eat vegetables. You know, they have to eat whatever's available, because it's like a matter of survival. They don't have an abundance of food. They don't have fridges and freezers everywhere and supermarkets just down the road. So that opened my eyes slightly and kind of made me a little more humble in some of my choices in life. But at the time, you know, I'd said I was vegetarian, and she agreed and said, yeah, no problem, you know, he's vegetarian. So I started eating the ramen, which was really, really nice. And I thought, well, it kind of tastes meaty. And I noticed some like bits of meat in there. And I just said to the guy, I think this has got meat in it. So he said to her, oh, did you not make him a vegetarian one? He's talking in Malaysian now. And she came back in Malaysian and said to him, yeah, but I cut the meat up really small. So she had no concept of vegetarianism as like a philosophy or you know, a culture. She only thought that I maybe was being a big baby and I didn't like the taste of meat. So like a mum, she had like chopped it up small and hidden it away in the ramen so I wouldn't notice it too much, but she wanted me to have it because it was protein rich, and she couldn't understand why anyone would refuse that. So that was pretty funny. And then afterwards they said, oh, you know, because we've got special guests, we've made ice cream. And I'm thinking, well, I can't see any electricity, there's no fridges and freezers, and I do not understand how you could possibly make ice cream in this situation. It's like 45 degrees, we're in the middle of a rainforest, and I've got a flight in like 2 hours time that I've got to get on, and the flight is going to be like a 9-10 hour flight. So I probably don't want to risk eating ice cream in the middle of a rainforest without any refrigeration or freezer. But I couldn't say no. Wherever I go in the world, I always just accept hospitality, unless it was like outrageously disgusting. But generally speaking, I'll accept things even beyond my better judgment, and this was one of those times. And sure enough, they bought me out a bowl of ice cream, which was made out of like coconuts, and somehow they had frozen this ice cream dessert. God knows how. It was actually really nice. I had about 10 wild cats all running around my feet. And I said, oh, you got a lot of cats here? And he said, yeah. He said, you know, they keep us warned about the snakes. And I was like, snakes? Because I really don't like snakes. And they said, oh, yeah, we have snakes. And I said, what, around here? And he said, yeah, just over there. We caught our biggest one. And I was like, well, what's the biggest one? Is it like a metre long or something? Oh no, he said, much longer. I show you picture. This is the driver. So he gets picture out on the phone, and there's like 15 guys standing in a row, and they're all holding the body of this snake, and it is huge and very long, and it had like a head, pretty much almost the same size as my head, and it was some kind of constrictor. It was absolutely ginormous, and that was literally 20 meters from where we were sitting. He'd caught that. So yeah, good to know. That was a little bit unnerving for me. Not the biggest fan of snakes. And he said, don't worry, I haven't seen any today. So that was good news. On the way back from there, I actually saw a group of bikers riding down the road as we drove back. And it was a group of Malaysian Hells Angels, which I didn't even know existed, but they do have Hells Angels there apparently. So if you're into joining a 1% bike gang and you want to live in Malaysia, you do have that option. It is open to you. You have to keep an eye on the weather in Malaysia. It's generally very hot. Sometimes it's so hot it's, you know, ridiculously uncomfortable. I did the classic Western thing over there. When we were going out, I would be in the hotel and I'd say, oh, let's go here and have something to eat. We can sit outside. It looks like a nice day. Everyone like looks at you like you're mental, because they know that as soon as you get outside, it is not a nice day. It is roasting you to death. When you open the hotel door, it's like opening the door of an oven. You know, you just get blasted by a heat furnace. It is virtually unbearable at some parts of the year. Even in the cooler periods, it can be really, really unbearable. And you do sweat a lot over there. It's quite humid as well because of the rainforest and stuff. And also they have really dramatic downpours of rain and sudden lightning storms. So you can be in what we would equate to as a beautiful summer's day, and literally 5 minutes later it is raining the heaviest I've ever seen rain fall, and there will be like lightning bolts flying through the sky. It's going absolutely nuts. It's really cool to watch that if you're sat in the top floor on that executive floor of the hotel and you're looking out watching all that happen. It's great. If you're actually out in it, not so great. The good news is if you don't get hit by lightning and you just get soaking wet, that you dry off very quickly, because in a few minutes again that's disappeared off, and then you're back to like sun out, 45 degrees, and like 15-20 minutes later you're completely dry. Pricing out there is very reasonable. You know, I didn't find anything overpriced. There's plenty of places to stop and buy drinks and bits of food and whatever. It was all considerably cheaper than what I would pay in the UK. You know, everything was cheaper over there than what I would pay in the UK. I haven't been for about 2 years, so I don't know how much that has changed. I've been told not very much. You know, prices have gone up a little, but not huge. So it's still a worthwhile place to visit in terms of cost effective. As I mentioned before with the rainforest and stuff, it's naturally very beautiful. So if you're someone that wants to go and explore, you know, it's definitely a place to do that. I'm sure there are places where you can go there where they have people that will supervise you and take you on trails. I would say that if you're just planning on kind of disappearing off from your hotel, driving somewhere and going for a walk in the woods, a walk in the woods could mean you're getting lost in like a dense, thick rainforest with all kinds of unknowns in it. So it's probably not a random place to just go wandering, because there aren't many fixed paths. It's very, very wild there, and you will just end up getting lost and getting into trouble. You can definitely be in situations there where there's zero phone signal where you are if you're out in nature. So bear that in mind as well, that you won't be able to rely on suddenly ringing up someone and saying, help, I can't find my way back home. You won't even get a signal. So you know, if you're trekking and doing that kind of stuff, take it seriously, take all the right gear with you, take some navigation equipment, and just be aware of that. Guys, I hope that was of some interest. I 100% recommend you check out Malaysia. It's very reasonable flights there, very reasonable pricing, and as I said, the pricing while you're there is excellent. So check it out, have fun with the people because they're fantastic. They will welcome you and make you feel right at home with their hospitality. See you all next time. Take care. Catch you again.